Hello everyone, my name is Dave and welcome to my Venenatis guide. This guide covers the solo single tank method as well as the duo tanking methods in multi, and it will also cover the Safespot method. So if you guys need to know any of these things, there will be timestamps in the description if you want to check out whichever one you're here for. But first things first, we're going to cover the gear. Timestamps will be in the description for every single thing you guys need in this video, so feel free to check that out if you don't need the full guide. Stats required for Venenatis are fairly straightforward. You need 90 plus melees and or range depending on which method you're using. Both are highlighted in this video, and 94 magic to use vengeance. If you're in a duo team, you don't need 94 as you can venge other, but it's still helpful to have, especially considering most of you are probably soloing. One thing I would like to mention before going further into this guide is that the loot video is going to be a separate video, just like I do with all of my guides, or plan on doing with all my guides. I know I'm kind of new to the whole thing. I'm going to make one video that has the actual guide and the other video that has the actual loot, so if that's what you're looking for, I'll put an annotation on the screen, and you can go over there right now and click that. So, let's get into the gear. There are going to be two major setups that you guys need to know for this. One of them is the melee setup. This one's fairly straightforward. You have to wear full Varix. That's the staple of this setup. The cape you can switch out for if you have an RD cloak, wear an RD cloak. If you have, I don't know, it's basically just a prayer bonus, unless you want to risk a fire cape. Obviously, everything here can be improved. The glory is fairly necessary unless you decide to use the Royal Seed Pod, which is part of the ranging setup. We'll get to that in a minute. The arrows are also fairly necessary, especially if you plan on safe spotting with melee. You will need a ranged weapon. I always bring the magic longbow, because you can also, when you get to the end of the kill, use the spec on the magic longbow to finish it off, as it has a guaranteed hit. Not a guaranteed particular hit, but it does have a guaranteed hit. So full Varix, rune gloves, climber's boots. This is how you go to Venenatis if you want to risk nothing. It's a fairly simple setup. So this is the inventory setup with Varix. One super combat potion. Obviously this can be switched out for a super attack and a super strength. 3 prayer potions. Venenatis does have an attack that smites you, so you will lose some prayer there. That's why you need 3. And although now if you get smited all you lose is your flail, it's still better to not get smited if a PKer comes and kills you. Obviously 160k isn't much, especially in terms of how much you're going to be making at this boss. But it still makes sense to not lose it, so you might as well bring the 3 prayer potions. And you also need an antidote. Antidotes are cheap as hell now, so always just get an antidote plus plus. Lasts me the whole trip. I usually just drink 1 dose of super combat per trip and 1 dose of antidote per trip, and never really run into any problems. Like I said, you need the magic longbow and the venge runes. Venge runes, you don't need this many, but I am on the 2k world, so there's very rarely PKers here. I never really run into any problems. I have a stamina potion down here as well. This is just because sometimes I feel like when I'm running, if I get TB'd, I might run out of run energy, and I get a little bit panicky, so I'd rather just not have to worry about that happening, even though it's fairly unlikely. The games necklace is, of course, to teleport to the Corp Cave. One other thing I want to mention here is the dueling ring and the glory. These can be switched out for any other teleport methods, but it's simpler for banking just to use the glory, teleport to Edgeville, and then use the dueling ring to go straight to Clan Wars to get all your stuff back to full, all your health, your prayer, and everything. And then you can teleport straight back out and have no problems. But now let's move on to the range setup. One thing I should mention before I get into the actual gear setup here is that I would not recommend using range if you plan on soloing without using the safe spot. So these venge runes are typically not necessary when you're ranging unless you were doing the duo method, which does involve venge othering your teammate. And that's what I've been doing to get my kill count because I find it much faster and it's my preference to killing this boss. But like I said, don't bring these venge runes if you're going to be using the safe spot, as you won't really need them. And if you're going to be using range, you really should be in the safe spot unless you're duoing. But let's get to the gear. For the helmet, just use any cheap range helmet. Karil's coif is a good substitute as well. I just like the Banos coif because it looks really stupid, and for some reason it's entertaining to me to look really stupid. The Av's accumulator is obvious. The necklace is the Necklace of Anguish. This is the Zenite necklace for ranging. It does come in fairly handy, and it really does boost your DPS, so I would recommend having this if you plan on ranging the boss. But like I said, this isn't necessary. All the high-end stuff here that you see that I have is not necessary. You don't need to have an armor crossbow. You don't need Pegasian boots. You don't need the Archer's Ring imbued, and you don't need the necklace. However, they do help your DPS, and obviously more DPS means more kills. And considering this guide is supposed to be getting you 20 kills if you're soloing, or 18 to 20 kills if you're soloing, and upwards of 30 kills if you're duoing, then I would strongly recommend you try to have gear similar to this. Otherwise, just use Varix, as it is significantly cheaper, and you'll probably be getting more kills that way. But the rest of the gear is fairly basic. The book is the Book of Law. It's the Arma book. Also cheap these days, probably less than 500k to get. And then just black d'hide. So the +4 that I have here is the armor crossbow, the necklace, the boots, And then the item I risk if I get smited is my Archer's Ring. This setup is a little bit more risky. The inventory is generally the same. Switch out a ranging pot for the super combat pot. And then the teleport that we have here is the Royal Seed Pod. This does require you to have Monkey Madness 2 completed, so if you do not have Monkey Madness 2 completed, and I'm saying this now because I know someone in the comments would probably say this otherwise, if you do not have Monkey Madness 2 completed, you cannot use this gear. You will need a Glory or a Slayer Ring or something in your inventory to teleport you. Otherwise, you're fine. I mean, it's easier to have the Glory equipped so you don't waste an inventory slot, but this is a one-click teleport that works up to 30 wilderness. It goes as far as the Glory does. So, this is the range setup. Now let's get into actually doing the boss. What I'm going to show you guys is the Safespot method, and as you can see my run rate is already very low just from running here. To those of you who don't know where the spider is, this is where we are, a little bit high up in the wilderness, but I feel like if you're watching a guide you should kind of have an idea of where the spider is. But these are some places you should take note of right here if you plan on doing the Safespot method. Okay, first of all, this rock pile is a very good landmark. It isn't really used for the safe spot. This Black Knight's going to be really annoying here. This isn't really used for the safe spot, but you should know where it is. So the main spots you need to know are right here at this formation of rocks. It's almost like a cross pattern that gets a little bit messed up down here, and there's some discoloration on the ground. You need to know this first patch right here, and then 2 squares over at the bottom of this line. These are the only 2 spots you need to know. It's directly south of where the Black Knights are. You can use this little part of the minimap for reference, but it's fairly straightforward. Now, the safe spot method isn't 100% perfect, but once you have Venenatis in the safe spot, it will not move. For some reason, sometimes it glitches out, but this is fairly rare. So what we're going to do first of all, we're going to run over here. We are very far north, by the way. We're in 31 Wilderness right now, in case you didn't pick that up. Keep running along the webs until you see kind of a bracket-shaped web right here, and then there's the Tetris piece web right here. What you want to do is run to the bottom of this Tetris piece web, put on your prey magic. Obviously, Venenatis is magic. You want to protect from magic. Drink a stamina potion if you have it. This isn't necessary, but it is very helpful. Hope that no one's on your world, because I didn't check, and there's no one on this world. Shoot Venenatis one time, and if you have melee, this is where you will be taking out your magic longbow and shooting Venenatis, running back to the bottom of the Tetris piece, and run over right here. See, this is where you use this big rock section as reference. You want to run to the north of the rock section, and then, first of all, you need to stand on the end square that I showed you guys earlier. Venenatis will attack you here, and you want to wait until it shoots a green attack. Once it shoots a green attack, you take the 2 steps back. Hopefully it does it at some point soon here. There's the green attack. Take 2 steps back. Venenatis will walk forward. Then you need to walk 2 steps back to where you were before. Run directly south all the way until this web right here. Run 1 square southeast of this web. And then Venenatis is now in the safe spot, and that's all you have to do. You want to run this way so that Venenatis doesn't attack you still when you run up. And then you're perfectly safe. You can attack Venenatis and not have anything to worry about. It will not hit me here unless I get, I don't know, right in front of it. Sometimes it will. But if you're ranging, there's one spot you need to stand, which is right around here. And this way, the Black Knights won't hit you. If you're meleeing, you can just stand right next to Venenatis. I'll show you guys right here. It won't hit me. Just stand right next to it and you'll be fine. Have no problems with it. So at this point, you just drink your potions, start killing Venenatis, and have no problems with that. So I want to talk about, while I'm here, the upsides and the downsides to using the safe spot. It's about the same kills per hour whether you're soloing using the safe spot or soloing using the normal methods. As you saw, getting it into the safe spot actually does take some time, and if you mess up, it'll take even longer. So the advantages to this are, obviously, as you can see, I use no food this time getting into the safe spot, and that's great. I'm not even actually, using my prayers right now, and I'm already wrecking it, hence why I like using range when I safe spot. But there are really no, I guess, huge upsides either way. It's about the same. You get the same kills per hour, but this way you don't use your food, but you are more at risk to PKers. As you can see if I move this, I actually am standing in multi, so PKers can come and rush me and kill me fairly quickly, whereas using the melee method, you will be standing in single, and Venenatis will be on you, so you don't have to worry about PKers. So if you really don't like PKers, then this probably isn't the way to do the boss for you, unless you're obviously a pure who needs to use range to kill the boss. But I'm guessing most of you aren't pures. This is great if you're on the 2K worlds. I don't encounter very many PKers here, and I've used this method to get upwards of 20 kills per trip. I wouldn't recommend staying for 20 kills, especially if you're not on a 2K world. But if you are, obviously it's a lot safer. So I'm going to get this kill here, and then I will show you guys the regular melee tank method. If you guys need to go ahead and watch it back, while I'm standing here, I'll point out the squares one more time. This web is very important. I should have mentioned at the start. I'm sorry that I didn't. But you just have to run right here once you have Venenatis in a safe spot. First thing you do, pull it up to the Tetris block, go right here on this square, take 2 steps back. when Venenatis shoots a green shot at you, and then take 2 steps forward. When you're taking the 2 steps back, that's the only time that it could potentially get messed up, and it is a little bit frustrating when it does because you have to start the entire thing over again. But it's not that big of a deal. I wouldn't worry about it. It happens about 10% of the time. So let's move on to the melee method, but I'm sure I really want to get this kill here so that you guys can actually see what I got, because it could be something amazing. I doubt it will be. Also, when you're standing here, you generally won't see the actual drop message. You'll get the kill count, but you'll be standing just outside the range to see the drop message. So, you know, there's my drop, Chaos Runes, let's eat a shark, and then head real quick off to the bank, switch gear, and come back and show you guys the single tank and duo tank methods. I forgot to mention, you do still need a dueling ring in your inventory with this setup. Here we are again, this time with melee, and I'm going to show you guys the solo tank and duo tank method. There actually was a guy here when I got here, but he just left. So, first thing you want to do, make sure you have protect item, protect from magic, and piety on. Make sure you're antidoted, and then run right here, and I'll show you guys what to do. This is the spot where you need to stand. It's just north of the hill with the trees on it. And Venenatis has already attacked me, so I'm going to try and get in this quick. There's one spot here, and then 3 in a line. This is where I always stand, but basically you want to stand anywhere along where the ground is discolored. Once Venenatis aggroes you, you can run up to get Venenatis to aggro you if you have to, and then run back, and it'll pull right towards you. Once Venenatis aggroes you, all you have to do is exactly what I did right there. You simply walk over to single combat, and Venenatis will still be in multi, and you can still hit it and still do damage. Now, one thing I should have done there on the way here, I guess I didn't do it, was venge up. Make sure you're venging as often as you can here, because that's actually a very, very hefty source of your damage. Now, while I'm standing here, this is literally all it is. Just tank and spank from this point on. That's it. That's how you do this boss with the solo method. Now, I'm in single. If PKers come on this hill right now, they actually can't attack me. I will see them up there, but they can't attack me. The only problem with this method, the only time you ever have to take a risk, is actually after the kill. When Venenatis drops the loot, you have to run and pick it up. But that's the only time, and it's an extremely safe method. That's the pro to this one. You do have to use supplies, but that's about it. Now for the duo tank method, it's a little bit different because you need both people actually standing in multi the whole time if you want to do it efficiently. Well, not necessarily the whole time, but you need to both be in multi in order to do venge other and to venge, I guess, to get the most efficiency out of your venges. So what I usually do is the exact spot where I was earlier, I just stand there the whole time. And I do that with my friend, and we actually end up getting upwards of 30 to 40 kills per hour as opposed to the 20 that you get from soloing. And I find that a little bit better just because I'm on the pet hunt right now, and he generally lets me get most of the kills, or I generally get most of the kills if I'm the one tanking because you get the first few hits. Now, there are a couple things about this boss that are strange. When you're tanking this boss, as you can see right there, I basically got smited. When you're tanking this boss, you actually have to get a couple hits, and your teammate has to be far enough away that the boss won't just randomly aggro to them, but there's even times after that that the boss will still turn to the other person in your team. I'm not entirely sure why it happens, but if you're far enough away and let the first person get a couple hits, it should be permanently aggroed to that person. You want to make sure that the boss is in multi when you're doing this. You want to make sure the boss isn't anywhere over here to the east, otherwise you will not be able to do damage, but that's it right there. Very easy kill. I'll show you guys one more time so you know and you can get a little bit of verification here. As you saw, the actual kill itself was a little bit faster using this method, and I don't have to waste all my time luring it. So, here's where you're standing. I'm standing right along the line of discoloration. Right here you have one web. You got the 3 webs right next to it. Kind of looks like, you know, a little phallic, but it's alright. We're going to ignore that. Put on your Protect for Magic when you know it's about to spawn. I usually stand in single when I'm waiting, but like I said, I've become very, very lazy and lax because I'm on the 2K worlds. Once again, I forgot to venge. You guys shouldn't ever forget to venge. Boss is going to hit me up like a truck. This is why a lot of people prefer to use the safe spot. As soon as it walks over to me, all I have to do is walk over here. It doesn't necessarily matter where the boss walks. It doesn't have to be in the exact same spot it was last time. As long as the boss is in multi, you will be able to do damage to it. But as you can see, I'm getting completely destroyed right now, and that's the downside to not using a safe spot, is you will have to use a lot of supplies. So especially if you're an Iron Man, you should be using that safe spot, but that's all we got for this. So I hope you guys enjoyed my guide. I'm sorry if it was a little bit less, I guess, thorough than my Sire guide, but I tried to be as thorough as I could. It's a little bit difficult, but all you have to do is make sure you know where you're standing. Oh my god, and don't get destroyed by this boss. Make sure you know where you're standing, and you should be fine. Don't worry about actually dying to the boss. If you haven't been hit by PKers, you can simply walk back and pick up your stuff, just like you can in any PVM situation. But I hope you guys enjoyed the guide nonetheless. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure you check out the loot video as well. Peace out.